The morning mist hung low over the quiet streets of Cardiff as 8-year-old Emma Thompson clutched her mother's hand tightly. Her small fingers trembled not from the cold Welsh air, but from the uncertainty that had become her constant companion over the past 6 months. The little girl's world had been turned upside down when her father, Sergeant David Thompson, had been deployed to a dangerous mission overseas, leaving behind a family that depended on his steady presence and warm smile. Sarah Thompson, Emma's mother, had been doing her best to hold everything together. Working double shifts at the local hospital as a nurse, she barely had time to process her own worries about her husband's safety, let alone help her daughter understand why Daddy had to go so far away. The bills kept coming, the house felt too quiet, and every night Emma would ask the same heartbreaking question: when is Daddy coming home? What Sarah didn't know was that their story had reached the ears of someone who understood the weight of duty and sacrifice better than most. Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had been visiting military families across the United Kingdom as part of her ongoing commitment to supporting those who serve. During one of these visits, a social worker had mentioned Emma's case, describing how the little girl had stopped speaking at school and how her mother was struggling to make ends meet while waiting for news from the front lines. The social worker, Mrs. Patricia Collins, had been working with military families for over 15 years. She had seen countless children struggle with the absence of a deployed parent, but something about Emma's situation particularly touched her heart. The little girl had been such a bright, cheerful child before her father left. She loved to draw pictures of rainbows and unicorns, always wore her hair in 2 neat braids, and had a smile that could light up any room. But as the weeks turned into months without her father, Emma had gradually retreated into herself. At school, her teacher, Miss Rebecca Martinez, noticed the dramatic change. Emma, who once raised her hand eagerly to answer questions and played happily with her classmates during recess, now sat silently at her desk, staring out the window. Her colorful drawings had been replaced by gray sketches of empty houses and lonely figures. When other children talked about their fathers, Emma would simply look down at her hands and remain quiet. The situation at home was equally challenging. Sarah would often find Emma sitting by the front window in the evening, watching for a car that wouldn't come. The little girl had created an elaborate bedtime routine where she would say good night to her father's empty chair at the dinner table and leave a small drawing on his pillow every night. These drawings usually showed the 3 of them together, with big smiles and hearts floating around them. Sarah's own struggles were mounting daily. The military housing allowance helped, but it wasn't enough to cover all their expenses, especially with the rising cost of everything from groceries to heating bills. She had applied for additional assistance, but the paperwork was overwhelming, and between her work schedule and caring for Emma, she barely had time to complete all the necessary forms. Some nights, after Emma had finally fallen asleep, Sarah would sit at the kitchen table with a cup of cold tea, wondering how other military families managed to get through such difficult times. The local community had been supportive in their own way. Neighbors would occasionally bring over casseroles or offer to watch Emma for a few hours, but everyone had their own lives and problems to manage. The military family support group met once a month, but Sarah often couldn't attend due to her work schedule. She felt increasingly isolated, carrying the weight of her fears about David's safety while trying to maintain a brave face for Emma. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, Princess Catherine was reviewing reports from her recent visits to military installations and family support centers. As someone who had experienced the anxiety of waiting for loved ones to return from dangerous situations, she felt a deep connection to the family she met. Her own husband, Prince William, had served as a search and rescue helicopter pilot, and she remembered the sleepless nights when she didn't know if he would return safely from particularly dangerous missions. The princess had been particularly moved by the stories she heard during her visits. There was the young mother of twins whose husband had been deployed just weeks after their children were born. There was the teenager who was trying to keep up with his studies while helping his mother manage the household in his father's absence. And there were children like Emma who were struggling to understand why their world had suddenly changed so dramatically. Catherine had spoken at length with various military support organizations about the challenges facing families during deployment. The statistics were sobering. Children of deployed parents showed higher rates of anxiety and depression, academic performance often declined, and many families faced significant financial hardship. But beyond the numbers were real people with real struggles, and Catherine felt a personal responsibility to do whatever she could to help. The princess had always believed that her position came with the obligation to use her platform for good. She had seen firsthand how a royal visit could bring hope and comfort to people going through difficult times. A simple conversation, a genuine moment of connection, or even just the acknowledgement that someone cared could make an enormous difference in a person's life. As she read through Mrs. Collins' report about Emma and her family, Catherine felt that familiar tug at her heart that told her this was exactly where she needed to focus her attention. The report described not just Emma's struggles, but also her mother's dedication and the family's strength in the face of uncertainty. It painted a picture of a family that wasn't asking for pity or handouts, but simply needed to know that their sacrifice was recognized and valued. Catherine immediately called her private secretary to discuss the possibility of arranging a personal visit. This wouldn't be an official royal engagement with photographers and formal protocols. Instead, she envisioned something much more intimate and meaningful, a genuine interaction between one mother and another, one human being reaching out to support another in their time of need. The idea began to take shape as Catherine considered all the ways she might be able to help. She thought about her own children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, and how she would feel if she had to explain to them why Daddy couldn't be home for months at a time. She imagined the strength it would take to maintain hope and positivity while carrying such worry and responsibility. Catherine also thought about the broader impact such a gesture might have. Military families across the country were facing similar challenges, and while she couldn't personally visit every single one, she could use Emma's story to highlight the struggles and needs of military families everywhere. Sometimes, shining a light on one family's experience could create awareness and support for thousands of others in similar situations. The princess spent several days researching military family support programs and speaking with experts about the most effective ways to provide assistance. She learned about organizations that provided emergency financial support, programs that offered counseling services for children, and initiatives that helped deployed parents stay connected with their families through technology. Each conversation reinforced her determination to do something meaningful for Emma and her mother. As the plans began to develop, Catherine insisted that everything be done with the utmost sensitivity and respect for the family's privacy. She didn't want to create a media spectacle that might make Emma or her mother uncomfortable. Instead, she wanted to create a genuine moment of connection that would provide real support and comfort to a family in need. The morning of her planned visit, Catherine woke early and spent extra time choosing what to wear. She wanted to look approachable and warm, not formal or intimidating. She settled on a simple blue dress that reminded her of the scrubs that Sarah wore to work every day, hoping it would help create an immediate connection between them. She also brought along a small gift bag filled with items she had carefully selected for Emma, including art supplies since she had learned about the little girl's love of drawing. As her car pulled up to the modest Cardiff neighborhood where Emma and her mother lived, Catherine felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. She had met with hundreds of families in her official capacity, but there was something different about this visit. Perhaps it was because she was acting purely from her heart, without the formal structure of an official engagement. Or maybe it was because she knew that this family's story represented the experiences of so many others who rarely had their voices heard. The street was quiet that morning, with most neighbors already having left for work or school. Catherine had specifically requested that her visit be kept private, wanting to avoid any disruption to the normal rhythm of the neighborhood. As she walked up the small garden path to the front door, she could see children's drawings taped to the inside of the front window, and She knew that one of them had been created by the little girl she had come meet. When Sarah opened the door, still wearing her hospital scrubs from her night shift, both women stood for a moment in surprised recognition. Sarah had seen Princess Catherine on television countless times, but nothing had prepared her for the warmth and genuine concern that radiated from the princess in person. Catherine, for her part, immediately saw in Sarah the strength and resilience that she had read about in the reports, as well as the exhaustion that comes from carrying too much responsibility for too long. Behind her mother, Emma peered out shyly, her blonde hair in the familiar braids that Sarah managed to create every morning despite their rushed routine. The little girl's eyes were wide with curiosity, but she remained close to her mother's side, uncertain about this unexpected visitor who seemed to command such respect and attention. Catherine knelt down to Emma's level, her own eyes filling with warmth as she took in the sight of this brave little girl who had been carrying such a heavy burden. In that moment, she made a silent promise to herself and to this family that this visit would be just the beginning of a journey that would bring hope, support, and lasting change to their lives and to the lives of countless other military families across the nation. The moment Princess Catherine stepped across the threshold of the Thompson family home, she was struck by the loving touches that made this house a true home despite the obvious financial constraints. Family photographs lined the narrow hallway, showing happier times when Sergeant David Thompson was home with his wife and daughter. Emma's colorful artwork covered the refrigerator door, and a small military flag hung proudly in the front window, signaling to the world that this family served their country with honor. Sarah invited Catherine into their modest living room, apologizing unnecessarily for the toys scattered on the carpet and the stack of medical journals on the coffee table. Catherine immediately put her at ease, explaining that her own home often looked exactly the same with 3 young children running around. This simple admission broke down the first barrier between them, transforming what could have been an awkward formal meeting into a conversation between 2 mothers who understood the challenges of balancing work and family life. Emma remained quietly by her mother's side, occasionally stealing glances at this elegant woman who had somehow appeared at their door. Catherine noticed the little girl's hesitation and began speaking to her in the same gentle tone she used with her own children. She asked about Emma's drawings, complimented her neat braids, and gradually drew her into conversation by showing genuine interest in her world. As they settled into conversation, Sarah began sharing her family's story in more detail. She spoke about David's decision to serve his country, despite knowing the challenges it would bring to their family life. She described the pride she felt watching him in his uniform, but also the fear that gripped her every time she watched the evening news. David had been deployed to a region where military personnel faced daily dangers from roadside bombs and surprise attacks, and Sarah carried the constant worry that every phone call might bring devastating news. Catherine listened with complete attention, occasionally asking questions that showed she truly understood the unique pressures facing military families. She spoke about her own experiences with William's military service, sharing how she had learned to manage the anxiety that came with loving someone whose job required them to put their life on the line for others. This openness created an immediate bond between the 2 women, built on shared experience and mutual understanding. Emma gradually warmed up to their royal visitor, especially when Catherine pulled out the gift bag she had brought. Inside were high-quality art supplies, including colored pencils, watercolors, and a beautiful sketchbook with Emma's name embossed on the cover in gold letters. But more meaningful than the gifts was the time Catherine spent looking through Emma's existing artwork, praising her creativity and asking about the stories behind each drawing. One drawing particularly caught Catherine's attention. It showed a little girl standing at a window, looking up at the sky where a small airplane carried a tiny figure waving down at her. Emma explained quietly that this was her waiting for Daddy to come home from far away. Catherine's eyes filled with tears as she realized the depth of understanding this young child had about her father's absence and the hope she maintained despite her sadness. Sarah noticed the emotional impact Emma's artwork had on their visitor and began sharing more about the challenges they had been facing. She talked about the sleepless nights when Emma would wake up crying from nightmares, the difficulty of maintaining their normal routines without David's help, and the financial strain that had gradually increased as the deployment extended longer than originally planned. The conversation revealed the complex web of support that military families needed, but often struggled to access. Sarah had applied for various assistance programs, but the bureaucracy was overwhelming for someone already stretched to her limit. She had tried to maintain her full-time work schedule to keep their insurance benefits, but this meant less time to help Emma process her emotions and adjust to their new reality. Catherine was particularly moved when Sarah showed her the letters David had managed to send home. His handwriting reflected the careful thought he put into each word, trying to maintain his connection with his family despite being thousands of miles away. He wrote about missing Emma's bedtime stories, about wanting help with her homework, and about counting the days until he could hold them both again. These letters revealed a devoted father and husband who was making his own sacrifices while serving his country. During their conversation, Emma surprised everyone by speaking up to ask Catherine if she missed Prince William when he went away for work. Catherine answered honestly, explaining that even short separations could be difficult, but that families found ways to stay connected through phone calls, video chats, and by keeping each other in their thoughts and prayers. She emphasized that missing someone was proof of how much you love them, and that Emma's feelings showed what a special relationship she had with her father. As the morning progressed, Catherine began to understand not just the immediate needs of this family, but the broader systemic issues that affected military families throughout the United Kingdom. She learned about the gaps in support services, the challenges of maintaining employment during deployments, and the unique emotional needs of children whose parents served in dangerous locations. The princess made mental notes about everything Sarah shared, already beginning to formulate ideas about how she might be able to help not just this family, but others in similar situations. She thought about the resources available through her royal patronages, the connection she had with charitable organizations, and the platform she could use to raise awareness about military family needs. When Catherine suggested they might step outside to see Emma's garden, where the little girl had been trying to grow flowers for her father's return, she was touched by the carefully tended plot of earth where small shoots were just beginning to emerge. Emma explained that she had planted seeds that would bloom into her daddy's favorite colors, red and yellow, and that she watered them every day while saying a prayer for his safe return. This simple garden became a powerful symbol of the hope and faith that military families maintained even in the most difficult circumstances. Catherine knelt beside Emma in the dirt, admiring the tiny green shoots and listening as the little girl explained her plan to surprise her father with a beautiful bouquet when he came home. The image of this young child nurturing new life while waiting for her father's return captured the essence of the strength and resilience that defined military families. As their visit continued, Catherine began to see opportunities to provide both immediate assistance and long-term support. She thought about her own children's art teacher, who might be able to work with Emma to help her express her feelings through creative projects. She considered the family support programs that might benefit from royal patronage and increased funding. Most importantly, she began to envision a comprehensive initiative that could address the multiple challenges facing military families. The turning point in their conversation came when Sarah, perhaps feeling the genuine care and concern that Catherine had shown, broke down and admitted how overwhelmed she had been feeling. She spoke about the guilt of not being able to give Emma all the attention she needed, the fear of making financial decisions without David's input, and the isolation that came from carrying such heavy responsibilities alone. Catherine responded with the wisdom of someone who understood that true support meant acknowledging both strength and vulnerability. She praised Sarah for the incredible job she was doing under impossible circumstances, while also validating her feelings of being overwhelmed. This combination of recognition and understanding created a moment of genuine connection that would form the foundation of their ongoing relationship. Emma, sensing the emotional weight of the conversation, spontaneously climbed onto Catherine's lap and showed her a special drawing she had been saving. This one depicted three figures holding hands under a rainbow, with a banner above them that read, "Family Forever," in crayon letters. Catherine realized that this little girl understood something profound about love and connection that transcended physical distance. As their mourning together drew to a close, Catherine made several commitments that would change the trajectory of the Thompson family's experience. She promised to stay in touch with regular calls and visits to help connect Sarah with resources that could provide practical support, and to work with her team to address some of the immediate financial pressures the family was facing. But perhaps most importantly, Catherine promised Emma that her father's service mattered, that their sacrifice as a family was recognized and valued, and that there were people working to support military families like theirs. She gave Emma a special phone number where she could leave messages when she missed her father, and promised that someone would always listen and care about what she had to say. The transformation in both Sarah and Emma during this single morning was remarkable. Sarah stood a little taller, no longer carrying her burdens entirely alone, and Emma's smile returned as she realized that someone as important as a princess thought her family was special and worth caring about. This visit had planted seeds of hope that would continue to grow long after Catherine's car disappeared around the corner. As Catherine prepared to leave, she took one last look around the home that had welcomed her so warmly. She saw the strength evident in every carefully maintained corner, the love displayed in every family photograph, and the hope represented by Emma's drawings covering the walls. This family had given her a gift as valuable as any she had brought to them, a deeper understanding of service, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds that hold families together even across impossible distances. In the weeks following Princess Catherine's visit to the Thompson family, the ripple effects of that meaningful encounter began to spread far beyond the modest Cardiff home where it had taken place. Catherine had returned to Kensington Palace with a renewed sense of purpose and a clear vision of how she could use her position to create lasting change for military families across the United Kingdom. The first step in Catherine's plan involved assembling a dedicated team of experts who could help her understand the full scope of challenges facing military families. She scheduled meetings with social workers, child psychologists, military chaplains, and family support coordinators from various branches of the armed forces. Each conversation revealed new layers of complexity in the issues that families like the Thompsons faced on a daily basis. Dr. Margaret Stevens, a renowned child psychologist who specialized in military families, provided particularly valuable insights during her meeting with the princess. She explained that children of deployed parents often experienced what researchers called ambiguous loss, grieving for someone who was still alive but absent from their daily lives. This type of loss created unique emotional challenges because children couldn't fully process their feelings through traditional grief mechanisms. Meanwhile, Sarah Thompson was discovering that Princess Catherine's promises had been more than just kind words spoken in the moment. Within a week of the royal visit, she received a phone call from a military family support coordinator who had been personally contacted by the princess's office. This coordinator, Janet Morrison, had over 20 years of experience helping military families navigate the complex web of available resources and support services. Janet's first priority was addressing the immediate financial pressures that had been weighing heavily on Sarah's mind. She helped Sarah complete applications for several assistance programs that she hadn't known existed, including emergency childcare funding that would allow her to maintain her work schedule without worrying about Emma's after-school care. More importantly, Janet became an ongoing advocate and support system, checking in regularly to ensure that Sarah never again felt completely alone in managing her responsibilities. Emma, meanwhile, had been transformed by her encounter with Princess Catherine. The shy, withdrawn child who had stopped participating in class activities suddenly began raising her hand again and engaging with her classmates. Her teacher, Miss Martinez, noticed that Emma had started talking about her father with pride rather than sadness, describing his important work serving their country and expressing confidence that he would return home safely. The art supplies that Catherine had given Emma became tools for healing and expression. Under the guidance of a new art therapy program that had been arranged through the princess's connections, Emma learned to channel her emotions into beautiful creations that told the story of her family's journey. Her drawings evolved from gray, lonely images to colorful scenes filled with hope, courage, and love. One particularly meaningful piece that Emma created during this time showed a little girl and a princess planting flowers together while a soldier watched from a cloud above them, smiling down with approval. When Catherine saw a photograph of this drawing, shared with her permission by Emma's art therapist, she was moved to tears by the child's ability to capture the essence of their connection and the ongoing presence of her father's love. The success of Catherine's intervention with the Thompson family inspired her to develop a comprehensive initiative that could help military families throughout the country. Working with Prince William, who brought his own military experience and understanding to the project, they established the Military Family Support Foundation, a charitable organization designed to address the gaps in existing support systems. The foundation's approach was innovative in its comprehensiveness. Rather than focusing on just one aspect of military family life, it addressed the interconnected challenges that families faced during deployment periods. Financial assistance was paired with counseling services, educational support was combined with community-building programs, and emergency aid was linked with long-term family strengthening initiatives. Catherine insisted that the foundation operate with the same personal touch that had characterized her visit to the Thompson family. Every family that received support would be assigned a dedicated coordinator who would get to know their specific needs and circumstances. This person would serve not just as a resource provider, but as an advocate and friend who understood the unique challenges of military life. The princess also recognized the importance of addressing the needs of children specifically. Working with child development experts, the foundation created specialized programs designed to help children understand and cope with parental deployment. These programs included age-appropriate workshops, peer support groups, and creative outlets that allowed children to express their feelings and maintain connections with their deployed parents. One of the most innovative aspects of the foundation was its technology component. Recognizing that communication was crucial for maintaining family bonds during deployment, Catherine worked with tech companies to provide military families with high-quality video calling equipment and unlimited international communication services. This ensured that parents could maintain daily contact with their children, participating virtually in bedtime stories, homework sessions, and important family discussions. The foundation's impact quickly became evident in families across the country. Military spouses reported feeling less isolated and better equipped to handle the challenges of single parenting during deployments. Children showed improved academic performance and emotional stability when they had access to comprehensive support services. Most importantly, families felt recognized and valued for the sacrifices they made in service of their country. Sarah Thompson became an informal spokesperson for the foundation, sharing her family story at military bases and support group meetings across Wales and England. Her transformation from an overwhelmed single mother to a confident advocate for military families inspired others to seek help and support when they needed it most. She emphasized that accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather a recognition of the extraordinary challenges that military families faced. Emma's role in this larger story was equally important. Her recovery and resilience became a symbol of hope for other military children who were struggling with parental deployment. Catherine arranged for Emma to meet other children in similar situations, creating opportunities for peer support and friendship that helped all the children involved feel less alone in their experiences. The little girl's artistic talents continued to flourish under the foundation's support. Her drawings and paintings were featured in a special exhibition at the National Gallery, showcasing the perspectives of military children and raising awareness about their unique experiences. The exhibition attracted thousands of visitors and generated significant media coverage that further highlighted the needs of military families. Catherine's commitment to the Thompson family remained personal even as her efforts expanded to help others. She maintained regular contact with both Sarah and Emma, celebrating milestones and providing support during difficult moments. When Emma lost her first tooth, she wrote a special letter to the princess describing the tooth fairy's visit. When Sarah received a promotion at the hospital, Catherine sent flowers and a personal note congratulating her on this achievement. These ongoing connections reinforced Catherine's belief that meaningful change happened through genuine relationships rather than distant charitable gestures. She understood that families needed to feel seen and valued as individuals, not just as representatives of a larger cause or statistic in a government report. The Foundation's work also attracted the attention of international military organizations, leading to partnerships and collaborative programs that extended its impact beyond the United Kingdom. Military families in allied nations began implementing similar comprehensive support models, creating a global network of resources and assistance for those who serve their countries. As the one-year anniversary of Catherine's first visit to the Thompson family approached, the transformation in their lives was remarkable. Sarah had been promoted to a supervisory position at the hospital, recognizing her leadership skills and dedication. Emma had become one of the top students in her class, her confidence and creativity flourishing under the consistent support she received. Most importantly, the family had built a network of friendships and support systems that would sustain them through any future challenges. They had learned that seeking help was not only acceptable, but wise, and that their service to their country entitled them to comprehensive support from their fellow citizens. The Foundation had also evolved beyond Catherine's initial vision, incorporating feedback and suggestions from the families it served. Military spouses were hired as coordinators and advocates, bringing first-hand understanding to their work with other families. Children who had successfully navigated parental deployments became mentors for younger children facing similar challenges. Catherine often reflected on how much she had learned from her relationship with the Thompson family and others like them. Their resilience, strength, and grace under pressure had taught her valuable lessons about the true meaning of service and sacrifice. She realized that while she had set out to help military families, they had given her far more than she could ever provide in return. The success of the Military Family Support Foundation demonstrated the power of combining royal influence with genuine personal commitment and professional expertise. By addressing the complex, interconnected challenges that military families faced, the Foundation had created a model for comprehensive support that was being studied and replicated around the world. But at the heart of all these achievements remained the simple truth that Catherine had discovered during her first morning with Sarah and Emma Thompson. Every family has a story worth honoring. Every child deserves to feel safe and supported, and every act of service, whether by a deployed soldier or a devoted spouse, merits recognition and assistance from their grateful nation. The autumn morning air carried a crisp promise of change as Princess Catherine made her way to Cardiff for what will be one of the most emotional moments of her royal career. After 18 months of deployment, Sergeant David Thompson was finally coming home, and Catherine had been personally invited by Emma and Sarah to be present for this long-awaited reunion. The invitation itself was a testament to the genuine friendship that had developed between the royal family and this military family whose story had touched the heart of a nation. The past few weeks have been a whirlwind of preparation and barely contained excitement in the Thompson household. Emma had spent hours perfecting a welcome home banner, carefully painting each letter in her father's favorite colors and adding small drawings that represented all the things they would do together when he returned. Sarah had worked extra shifts to take time off, wanted to focus entirely on David's reintegration into their family life. The Military Family Support Foundation had grown exponentially since its inception, now serving over 10,000 military families across the United Kingdom and its territories. The success of the program had attracted attention from government officials, international military organizations, and charitable foundations around the world. But For Catherine, the true measure of success remained the individual stories of transformation and healing that she witnessed in families like the Thompsons. Dr. Stevens had continued working with Emma throughout her father's deployment, helping her develop healthy coping mechanisms and maintaining her emotional stability during the long months of separation. The child psychologist was amazed by Emma's resilience and growth, noting that the comprehensive support system surrounding the family had created an environment where healing and development could flourish even under challenging circumstances. Emma herself had become something of a local celebrity, not because of her connection to the royal family, but because of her own inspiring journey from a withdrawn, anxious child to a confident, articulate young girl who spoke eloquently about military family experiences. She had addressed groups of military children, sharing her artwork and encouraging others to express their feelings through creative outlets. The night before David's return, Catherine had called the Thompson home to speak with Emma, as had become their tradition during important moments. Emma excitedly described her preparations for her father's homecoming, including the special dinner she and her mother had planned and the photo album she had created to show him everything that had happened during his absence. Sarah, who had grown from an overwhelmed single mother into a confident advocate for military families, had been invited to serve on the board of the Military Family Support Foundation. Her firsthand experience and practical wisdom had proven invaluable in shaping programs and policies that truly met the needs of families in crisis. She had also returned to school part-time, pursuing a degree in social work with a specialization in military family services. The reunion itself was scheduled to take place at the Cardiff military base, where David would arrive on a transport plane carrying several dozen soldiers returning from the same deployment. Catherine had coordinated with military officials to ensure that the homecoming ceremony would be dignified and meaningful while still allowing for the private family moments that were so crucial after a long separation. As Catherine's car approached the base, she could see the families gathered in the waiting area, each group representing months or even years of separation, sacrifice, and hope. Children clutched handmade signs, spouses checked their appearance one final time, and elderly parents prepared to welcome home their adult children who had been serving their country in dangerous locations around the world. The Thompson family had arrived early, with Emma wearing a special dress that Catherine had helped her choose for this momentous occasion. Sarah looked radiant despite her nervousness, her hair styled perfectly and her best dress pressed and ready for this reunion she had dreamed about for so many months. The support network that had developed around them was evident in the presence of Janet Morrison, Dr. Stevens, Miss Martinez, and several other families who had become part of their extended military family community. When the transport plane finally appeared on the horizon, the emotion in the waiting area became palpable. Catherine watched as Emma gripped her mother's hand tightly, her eyes fixed on the aircraft that carried her father home to them. Sarah's composure began to crack as the reality of David's return finally hit her, and Catherine moved closer to offer the quiet support that had become second nature to their friendship. The soldiers began disembarking from the plane in their desert combat uniforms, each one scanning the crowd for their loved ones. When David Thompson appeared in the doorway of the aircraft, Emma broke free from her mother's hand and began running across the tarmac, her carefully practiced composure dissolving into pure childhood joy and excitement. The moment when father and daughter were reunited after 18 months of separation became one of those images that captures the essence of love, sacrifice, and homecoming. David swept Emma into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed and cried simultaneously, holding on to him as if she would never let him go again. Sarah reached them moments later, and the three-person embrace that followed represented the culmination of months of hope, prayer, and unwavering faith in their family's strength. Catherine watched this reunion through tears, remembering her first meeting with his family when Emma had been a withdrawn, anxious child, and Sarah had been overwhelmed by the challenges of single parenthood during deployment. The transformation she witnessed in both mother and daughter was a testament not only to their personal strength, but also to the power of comprehensive support systems and genuine human connection. David Thompson proved to be everything Catherine had imagined based on his letters and his family's descriptions. He was a quiet, thoughtful man who clearly adored his wife and daughter, and who carried himself with the dignity and humility that characterized the best of military service members. His gratitude for the support his family had received was evident in every word he spoke and every gesture he made. When Emma introduced her father to Princess Catherine, the moment was both formal and deeply personal. David expressed his appreciation not just for the specific help his family had received, but for the way Catherine had recognized and honored the sacrifices that military families made every day. He spoke eloquently about the comfort it had given him, even in the most dangerous moments of his deployment, to know that his wife and daughter were being cared for by people who truly understood their situation. The homecoming ceremony included recognition for the families who had maintained the home front during the deployment, acknowledging that military service was a family commitment rather than an individual sacrifice. Catherine had worked with base officials to ensure that this ceremony highlighted the contributions of military spouses and children, creating a moment of recognition that was long overdue. Emma's presentation of her welcome home banner and photo album to her father became an emotional highlight of the day. As David paged through the images and read her captions describing their life during his absence, his eyes filled with tears at the evidence of how much his daughter had grown and matured during their separation. The banner, with its carefully painted letters and small drawings, would later be framed and displayed prominently in their home as a symbol of their family's journey through deployment and reunion. The success of the Thompson family reunion and the dozens of others that took place that day represented the culmination of Catherine's vision for comprehensive military family support. But it also marked the beginning of a new phase in her commitment to these families, as she realized that the challenges of reintegration and adjustment were just as significant as those faced during deployment. In the weeks following David's return, Catherine maintained her connection with the Thompson family as they navigated the process of rebuilding their daily routines and relationships. The foundation had developed specific programs to support families during this transition period, recognizing that coming home presented its own unique challenges and stresses. David's adjustment to civilian life after his deployment required patience and understanding from his entire family. The foundation provided counseling services that helped the family communicate about their experiences and expectations, ensuring that everyone had space to process the changes that had occurred during their time apart. Emma's relationship with her father required some rebuilding, as she had grown and changed significantly during his absence. The Foundation's family therapy programs helped them reconnect through shared activities and open communication, strengthening their bond while acknowledging that some aspects of their relationship would be different than before the deployment. Sarah's role also shifted as she transitioned from being the sole decision-maker and primary parent back to being part of a parenting partnership. The Foundation support programs helped couples navigate these adjustments, providing resources and guidance for rebuilding intimate relationships that had been strained by long-distance separation. Catherine's ongoing involvement with the Thompson family became a model for how royal patronage could extend beyond ceremonial appearances to create lasting, meaningful relationships with the people served by charitable initiatives. Her commitment to this family demonstrated that true service involved consistency, authenticity, and a willingness to be present during both celebrations and challenges. The Military Family Support Foundation had evolved into one of the most successful royal charitable initiatives in recent memory, serving as a blueprint for how traditional monarchy could address contemporary social challenges through innovative, comprehensive approaches. The Foundation's success had inspired similar initiatives in other countries and had influenced government policy regarding military family support. But perhaps most importantly, the Foundation had created a cultural shift in how society viewed and supported military families. The comprehensive approach pioneered through Catherine's work with families like the Thompsons had demonstrated that military service was indeed a family commitment that deserved family-centered support and recognition. As the first anniversary of David's homecoming approached, the Thompson family had established new traditions and rhythms that honored both their military service and their commitment to each other. Emma continued to thrive academically and artistically, her confidence and creativity serving as inspiration for other military children. Sarah had completed her social work degree and was now working part-time with the foundation while maintaining her nursing career. David had found meaningful work that utilized his military skills while allowing him to remain close to his family. His experience during deployment and his family's journey through separation and reunion had given him unique insights that he shared with other military families facing similar challenges. The story of Princess Catherine and the Thompson family had become a powerful example of how individual acts of compassion and commitment could create ripple effects that transformed entire communities. Their relationship demonstrated that effective charitable work required genuine human connection, sustained commitment, and a willingness to address complex challenges through comprehensive, coordinated approaches. But at its heart, this story remained a testament to the power of love, family, and community to overcome even the most difficult circumstances. The bond that had developed between a royal princess and a military family had created lasting change not just for them, but for thousands of other families who benefited from the programs and support systems that grew from their initial connection. As Catherine reflected on her journey with the Thompson family and the broader impact of the Military Family Support Foundation, she felt profound gratitude for the opportunity to serve families who gave so much in service to their country. Their courage, resilience, and grace under pressure had taught her valuable lessons about the true meaning of duty, sacrifice, and love.